The shooting in Texas is the latest example of rising gun violence here in the U.S. According to the Gun Violence Archive, mass shootings have more than doubled from 336 in 2018 to 693 in 2021. Joining us now is Mark Bryant, founder and executive director of the Gun Violence Archive. It's a nonprofit that tracks gun violence in the U.S. Your organization has counted more than 200 mass shootings in the U.S. so far this year. As a data collector, how do you define a mass shooting?
Well, we consider mass to be a measurement of quantity. So mass shootings would be a number of people, and the number that seems to settle is 4 or more victims killed or injured, not including the shooter, to define a mass shooting. And then we do not winnow that number down to exclude certain subsets of mass shootings.
What's your objective in tracking all of this data?
Back in 2012, after Sandy Hook, we realized that there was a limited amount of data that was accurate. Everybody was throwing out different numbers. I mean, you would have numbers that were 300% and 500% differing from each other for the exact same subject. So we started looking at how to make that more accurate so that when there's a discussion of gun violence, whether it's politicians, media, journalists, advocates, whoever, they're all speaking from the same page.
Okay. According to your research, mass shootings have more than doubled since 2018, and recent FBI data reviewed by CBS News shows that incidents like Uvalde are on the rise. Is there an explanation for this recent spike?
Well, one of the things that we see is that the ease of getting magazines for these guns that are 30, 60, 100 rounds. So rather than a pistol which would shoot 6 rounds and then have to be reloaded, now you're looking at guns that will shoot 60 rounds without ever having to be reloaded. And that makes it easier to, and I hate to even phrase it this way, it makes it easier to sweep and clean a room. That's what those AR-15s are designed for.
So just to jump in here, one of the trend lines you're seeing is the purchase of larger magazines.
Larger magazines, more AR-15s, groups that are using, folks that are using them, whether gangs or individuals that are now using AR-15s, where in the past they may have used a pistol.
Okay. What are your projections for the rest of 2022?
I'm actually looking right now that the number is going to flatten a little bit unless something really cranks up this summer. We look like that probably we will be looking at 2019 level numbers. 2020 and 2021 both spiked unusually because we thought that it would lighten up in that time period because of COVID. It did not.
You mentioned this just a short time ago, and I want to drill down a little further. Are there any common threads or similarities in gun choice for these shootings?
Well, for the mass shootings that we're seeing where people are just trying to get as much attention and kill as many people as they can, they're always going to go for the one that the military uses. They're going to go for the one that is the easiest to buy. They can buy it at 18 rather than 21. They're going to buy it to where it's most efficient. It was designed as a very efficient killer, and sadly, we are seeing the evidence of that.
Uvalde was the 27th school shooting we've seen this year and the deadliest since Sandy Hook in 2012. As someone who studies these incidents, what can be done to mitigate the risk?
Mass shootings account for about 5% of our work at Gun Violence Archive. And sadly, it's some of the hardest to predict. Now, with gang violence, which sometimes walks into the mass shooting range, that can be addressed by getting guns off the streets. Guns that were purchased illegally, guns that were stolen, That would be one solution for that type of mass shooting. And school shootings, on the other hand, seem to be done with legally purchased weapons. So how do you do that if you have someone who has not, that would always pass a background check, but have an intent that is not a hobby?
Mark Bryant, thank you.
Thank you.